What's up guys, Larry Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. We're out at ZCon actually, and this is Pikes Peak International Raceway. We got a really crazy Z here, probably the craziest Z that was on track today. This is Mark, the owner slash builder. You told me right off the bat after I came up to you, you're like, hey, this is a 12-year project.
Yeah,
why is it that it took so long?
So I have a day job, and I've worked with another guy named Andrew Slavens. He has a day job building race cars, so you can see a lot of the kind of fit and finish. I really give Andrew's credit for. We both just kind of did this when we had some free time. So 12 years is what happens when you do it that way.
All right, so what did this start life as? I'm guessing a 72.
It actually, no, it's a 71.
Okay.
I have a 71 240 that's a unibody, and I built foam-based and then fiberglass fenders on it, and it's a track rat, right? It's been beat up. It's got holes in the fenders. It's got an RB in it, and it's a great car. But I decided I wanted to start from scratch, and I thought I'd do one of those, rotisserie builds, and then I just started cutting into a Rat Z that I bought, and I realized it'd be more fun to just start from the wheels up. So we basically and literally put the four wheels in the right place and started building up from there. At the same time, we molded, so the other Zs, I think it's pretty well known. It's one of those early RB builds, a big flare, silver with stripes identical to this. And so I did a fiberglass, basically mold of the rear quarters and the whole front clip of the original car. And we use that to build the body of this one, but in carbon fiber this time.
Okay, so this is just so wild. Right off the bat, Twin Turbo VQ. What VQ is it?
It's a VQ35HR, which was at the time, so I started the project in 09, and that was really the only used VQ you could buy. The GTR was just recently out, but there were no GTR motors available. So this was the hottest V motor I could buy without going to some exotic Nissan V8 or going American. And I kind of wanted to keep it Nissan, and so here we are.
Yeah, no, it looks insane. It looks so crazy. How much power are you making?
It makes 600 on normal pump gas. It could probably do more, but then you'd be getting into exotic fuels. So 600 is just insane. Actually, on the wastegate springs, which is about 490, it's also insane. So frankly, it's a 2,400 pound car. It does not need a lot to push it. It's a blast to drive, especially with the transmission. You can basically rattle through the gears super quick.
Yeah, so what kind of transmission are you running?
It's a Holinger 6-speed sequential with basically an air paddle shift.
That's something else. And then, so what kind of turbos are you running on this?
These are Borg Warner 6758s. It's funny, I bought them right when I started the project. They'd just come out, and little I know they'd have to sit on the shelf for 4 years. So they were like a little picture of hope on the shelf in the garage for a long time before it was ready to put them on the rest of the car. Rest of the build.
What engine management are you using?
It's a Motec 130. I've got the Motec 1212 screen, which is kind of fun here. Watch this. It's tucked in to the normal Z pods.
No way!
Yeah, so I've rendered Two little screens. One is this street screen, and then this track screen.
Wow.
And I have an unfinished screen that I wanted to bring here, but it's basically the original Z dials, but rendered in software.
Okay, this is something I've never ever seen. On
Yeah.
a Z at least. This is...
I've seen people cut up the dash, and it really upset me because this is like one of the nicest parts of a Z. Is this, is the
That's so,
dash.
okay, so there's so much to talk about, but like we jumped kind of into the interior. So this, what is all, where'd you get all this carbon fiber?
This is I bought one of those fiberglass repro dashes, and Andres and I covered it in carbon, and it took many layers to get it acceptable. And actually, if you inspect it, you can see it's really kind of janky, but as long as it's glossy and you know, it passes, right? If you inspect the carbon, you can see how handmade it is.
You know, from the outside, this is already really crazy, insane build.
The door panels I made, I had a guy make a fiberglass buck of it, and so it's really easy to make door cards now. And but you know, and I think now you can buy them, but you know, mid 2000s when it was making parts for this, none of this stuff was available. So we ended up, we've got molds for everything now. We've got rear quarter panel molds.
And it has a cage that's kind of tucked away pretty good.
The cage is the frame, so it's not a cage under a unibody. It is the car, and the body of the car is just sitting on it, unstructural. It's not structural.
That's incredible. Okay, so you built all of this in your garage?
No, I built it at Andres's garage. So Andres has a massive shop where he's building all these race Hondas, and over in the corner is this little Z.
Jeez.
It's been a project of passion.
I just have so many questions. I mean, like...
Here, watch this. It's
okay.
Fun.
Yeah, so you have... Yeah, this is a really trick thing about this car.
This is actually an old friend of mine in Austin, Texas, started a business called Victor Racing, where he sells an Aero wing, and I bought the kit from him, but I ended up taking it apart and building my own mount. So we fabbed up, Andres fabbed up this mount here, and then I put the computer in the dash.
And so this moves based on your speed? Or?
Yeah, so you can say at what speed, at what angle you'd like to be, and then when it senses braking, you can say what angle do you want. So at 3 G's braking force, I put it at 18 degrees, and you can feel it. It's
really?
great.
Well, because today you were autocrossing, you weren't going that fast, but yesterday you were on a road course, and that's when this really comes into play.
Yeah, today I actually just set it to 15 degrees, and it just sat at 15 degrees the whole time, which, you know, is adding a little bit of downforce, but mostly.
Okay, so what about this? How did you make all of this stuff? Did you make all this stuff yourself?
So the carbon panels, Andres and I made from the fiberglass molds we made. So there's a mold sitting of both sides of the car, and we just laid up the carbon. It does not look good underneath. It's, you know, the weave is not consistent, which is why we ended up painting the car. For a couple of years while I was building it, we took it to different shows and showed people the car, and everyone kept saying, yeah, make it a naked carbon the whole time, but it didn't look good.
But it's kind of cool. That's a flex, right? To have a all carbon
you have
body
to tell
car.
people it's carbon.
Yeah, it's
right?
all
I
carbon
like
bodied. I mean, including the roof?
No.
So
roof is steel.
It starts, where does it actually start?
It starts right here. You can listen. It's cut. The reason they're steel is, one is, you know, steel doors and steel roof will protect you in a fire. But the steel is the hardest thing. These door frames are the hardest thing to mold, to make a carbon parts out of, and I don't have that kind of skill.
Well, for it looking or feeling like an all-out race car, it's kind of amazing to me to see all the things that you've done to make it finished, right? Like the fact that you do have door panels, you have glass windows.
Yeah, and little tiny pieces of foam.
Yeah.
It's
even this is the original OE window.
It's original glass.
And then back here you have Lexan.
This is a carbon piece, and this is Lexan. And if you've ever lifted the back hatch of a Datsun, you realize, like, that is a heavy piece of kit that it's definitely needs to be replaced. But the doors are super light. So I know you can make them lighter with carbon. but I don't want to collide on the track with somebody and have that piece come through into the cabin.
Okay, so let's talk about the rear suspension. This is just so mind-blowing. What is going on here? There's just
so it's a total custom piece because the front is using Z06 arms. I knew I wanted to use basically a GM hubs. GM's use pretty consistent hubs, and so the S10 hubs are the same as the Corvettes. And so a guy in Florida makes hot rod suspensions. You basically give him your geometry. You give him your mounting points, what your extents are, you know, how long you want the arms are to be, and he'll make you the parts. So we drew this up in CAD, sent him the drawings, and he sent back finished arms. It's heavy because there is the control pistons for the wing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is that air tank just for the wing?
That's just for the wing. No. The wing is electric.
Oh, and then this is for the shifter.
That's for the shifter. This is the pump, and that's the tank for the shifter.
Wow, the suspension is so
that's
great.
coming
Penske shocks.
Yeah, that's that.
How many Zs have Penske shocks? This is probably
I have no idea, but it came time to ordering custom shocks because essentially you end up with custom, you know, spring links, and Penske was the easiest way to solve it. Jeez. I didn't, you know, they turn out to be really good, but it wasn't some particular flex. It was just, you know, you end up ordering custom stuff. That's what you do.
Mark, I'm so blown away. Like, I
This
see
is
so many
jerry-rigged
builds. I see so many builds, and you've seen the builds that we feature, you know?
Yeah.
But like this, even this, that you have like this brace for the exhaust that extends up to here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little.
This is so cool.
So we had built, this is one of the early crazy ideas, came out of a little drawing, a muffler back here. So we built a full muffler, insulated the shit out of it, ended up melting this whole panel, the original panel, melting the lights, because the muffler just heated up. And it still didn't really muffle what was going on.
Yeah, you can put it down.
So we just took it out.
Yeah.
And actually, it was just a couple weeks ago I took it out.
Huh.
It was kind of cool because it had two flaps in it. So with the flaps closed, the air had to go up into the muffler, back down, and then outside. And open the flaps and straight outside. But the sound difference was like pointless. So
maybe if this was metal, but this is actually 3D printed.
So this is 3D printed. I run a design firm, so this is, you know, basically a hobby design project. And one of the things I had me and an industrial designer who works with me, we drew this up. His name's Hayes, really cool guy. And anyway, it's you know, so first of all, we scan the back. So I've got a scan of the front of the car and a scan of the back of the car. You can make whatever I want with that. And so we drew this up, had a whole lot of different options. And it's kind of cool. You can send off 3D files now and get back a part. So you can get it back in metal, you can get it back in, this is nylon, you can get it back in just plastic. So at this point, I'm like, what else can I make? And what I am working on right now are tail lights. And if you come by tomorrow, I'll show you the lights. Yeah. Basically, if you've seen that GTR concept where the lights are like a tunnel, and you see the straights of the tunnel.
Yes.
I think Ford did it also on their lights. This is just this shape, the classic shape, but it's open. You know, the rest of this back end's open. The diff is right there.
Yeah. So tell me about the diff. What kind
it's
of?
It's a Ford 88. I'd gone through so many R200s. You know, that's the classic experience of driving a Z, is you smell the exhaust and the drivetrain rattles back and forth, right? I'm guessing yours does.
Of course.
Yeah, so I put a Ford 88 in there to get rid of that. It's pretty tight. Not as tight as I wish it was, but anyway, so the whole thing's open back there, which was just part of the fun. And also the plexiglass to protect from the smell of the exhaust.
Yeah, and the heat maybe.
Yeah, and so air runs through now, which ends up being a cooling effect, and the rear wheel wells route into this. And so when I open this up, we'll make a little tunnel from the wheel well out the car.
Everything is so finished. Even this you guys made, huh?
Yes, this is a wooden buck, just of the shape, just the reverse of it. So we made the inner part off that buck just by draping the carbon over it. Made a bunch of them and then just connected them with glue.
I didn't expect to see anything of this caliber here. It's so cool to see. Tell me about the wheel, tire, and brake setup. This is, I mean, can you fit any wider?
So one of the earlier things I ordered were Willwoods. You know, just dialing Willwoods against a Corvette setup. Got them in, and they sat in the garage forever, and finally got them put on. And turns out, you know, I hate to diss Willwood, but they are squishy. They just are not great brakes. And so while the rear ones were fine, I ended up switching the fronts to StopTex because it's a single piece, which the original wheel that I had built for this, funny enough, is also a custom piece. Not these. The original wheels are ones I designed up at home and had a company in California make, actually in LA, and they wouldn't fit with these new brakes. So it's only been 3 months ago that I switched out wheels because of the brakes. Because the StopTex stick too far out, right?
Yeah,
So you end up with this sort of modern wheel shape instead of the dish that you have with most old Datsuns.
and of course the big thing is this clamshell thing that you created.
That was at the beginning. Very first drawing I did was how can I get a clamshell so that when you open the car up you have this glorious engine and the symmetrical shape of the engine.
It's all
and
open here.
Yeah.
It's so insane.
Yeah, if you stand right here and shoot down, it's just awesome. And that's like one of the sweet spots of the car.
There's just so many things about this car that I'm so blown away with, but
Look under the body. It's flat is unobstructed flat.
Even all these panels, it's amazing how finished they are. It's so crazy. Like, look at this piece. So, did you design this in CAD or anything before you actually?
No, it's just a mold from the other car, and then when we just cut it, and then when we close it, of course, the delta between the two would grow as you drive it around. And so we ended up having to make this little triangulation. We first made a little lip and another lip, but then the gaps would just change all the time. So we made the triangle so they sort of shove each other into place.
Right.
So that's just trial and error.
So that's
a late addition.
It sits on top of this,
Yeah.
which sandwiches it.
Yeah, it's just trial and error until it worked. And you know, we didn't have these pieces, but the lights get bashed with rocks, and so I mean, it's one of the downsides. You build something like this, and I'm always having to clean rocks out of the engine bay.
So this is a stock piece?
That's stock position.
Yeah.
Stock mounts, stock arms. Yeah, there's a little stock in it.
Yeah.
You can see the line.
So what else
the line stops here.
What else is stock on this? The windshield?
Wiper motor, windshield is, except I took the frame out. I had the paint shop so I took it to, somebody painted it, of course, and they welded in so that we could take out the normal giant rubber buffer that this needs with the trim piece.
Yes.
So it holds because it's still got the the right kind of modern fit style.
Right. Yeah. You don't need a rope method to put it in like we did on my car.
I think it just looks a little tighter, a little smoother. I didn't want it to be too radical. Like, the window trim, all that stuff should stay. From a distance, it should look more or less like a Datsun.
So tell me about the front suspension.
Those are Z06 parts. And the reason for Z06 parts is they're basically double wishbone, and they don't have this sort of ridiculous geometry that it takes to package something in a tight space. If you look at like the Z arms, they're making these sort of funny twists and bends around the spring, the coilover setup, or just to work in a tiny space. So here you've got as long arms as I wanted to get good geometry, and package is real nice.
Yeah,
and they're easy to buy upgrades for, easy to buy spring kits, and they're light. Originally we had a problem with adjustability, but we finally built a little washer based.
The cooling setup here is so cool. So you got a V-mount setup,
Yep.
intercooler on top.
Yeah, oil cooler and radiator are one system, so you can buy a radiator basically with the oil cooler in the cooling fin setup. So that's the lower, and it totally keeps everything cool. I never have water problems or oil problems.
What a great setup.
Run the out of it, and it's fine. If you look at the valve covers, they're 3D printed as well. They've got a little,
No way.
yeah, there's a little flex of lettering in there, but
Datsun 240Z.
yeah, unfortunately,
35.
the turbos make enough heat that we got to shield that, so it's a little bit of a loss.
Amazing. I've never seen a 3D printed valve cover. Never. I've seen it.
If you look at the factory ones, they've got all of these little, factory emissions control accommodations, and so we had them on there, but man, it was a mess. And they're plastic, and so you can't just like shave it off. So we scanned them and just in CAD took out the parts, smoothed it off, and had them printed out in nylon, and they hold just fine.
I just love how perfect it all fits with the chassis
There's
coming
so
out
much
here.
space. Yeah.
But it's so cool to see what's connected, right?
Yeah.
Like it looks like an open wheel car when you look at it from
last
this
night,
way.
So last night I had to replace the alternator belt, right? So there's only two belts, right? There's the dry sump oil belt and the alternator belt. So I literally was standing inside the engine bay working on it. This is awesome.
Huh.
Because it's all right here.
And then what about this intake manifold setup?
A funny story there. My daughter helped me make these. So first in the shop, we basically laying plastic and cardboard down with the core piping already in place. So we had piping going to a terminating spot where we knew we wanted them. We just filled the whole zone up with foam, right? Expanding foam. Have you ever made parts with expanding foam?
No.
Super fun. You can take a negative. I did this with my RB. RB has two turbos in a twin setup, and I wanted a nice box running to both those. So I just filled that whole vacuum in the engine bay in a 240Z up with foam. You just get a big chunk of foam, you pull it out, and it's got two spots that show where the turbos were. And you just shave the foam down till you have this lovely barrel, this organic barrel form for an intake. And I did the same thing here. You end up with two big old bricks that show the registers of where things will need to come and go, and you shave it to the shave form you want. You just take some sandpaper, take a knife, and just keep shaving it till you like the shape. And you cover it with clay, so you make it smooth because the foam's really grody. And then you can cover that with carbon. Just wrap it with carbon, make a nice piece, sand the crap out of it, make it glossy. And then you've got all this foam you need to dig out with a stick. So
It would have been too easy just to get something off the shelf, huh? And it
there
probably
were
wouldn't
a
have
few
fit.
pieces off the shelf. There were some folks making a kind of GTR look-alike for the VQ.
But you just wanted to do it yourself.
And none of them run straight in like this. I mean, again, if you stand up there, it's just like, that's pure engine porn. Just to have that shape, the straight, symmetrical. Honestly, it kind of was jonesing for that kind of Ferrari look. Like the rear engine Ferrari, you have this straight in.
I looked at it from here, and when I saw you in line waiting to go for your run, I had to ask you what engine it is because of the fact that I couldn't recognize it from the top. I've never seen anything like this. But now, of course, once you look at the front here, then you can tell that it's a VQ. But this motor is also mounted as low as possible, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a dry sump on it, so we can lower it as low as we want. It's even higher than it needs because it used to have the normal Nissan 5-speed mounted to it, the 350Z 5-speed, and it has a big ol', mating piece that is super low, and it dragged a couple inches off the ground, so we had to build a shield for that. But after a couple months of that, we were like, no, let's go with the sequential.
So this is the part that really is incredible to me, the fact that you could disconnect certain parts.
The whole
right?
front end, you can unbolt. So there's two bolts here that basically hold on to the whole front. And if you unhook the hosing and the wiring, the whole front will come off. And then these two pieces, these two bars, you unhook those, you can basically pull the motor out. So you can do surgery on this pretty easily. It's a really elegant setup. And that's, I mean, Andrus's credit, when he builds race cars, he's got to build cars that have to get turned over all day long. And so every time we draw something up, he'd like, no, I know the way to do that.
So we obviously watched you do autocross, and yesterday you did road racing. What did you actually build this specifically for?
Road racing, but since I'm just doing classless road racing, basically track days, I want it to look good. A bunch of my friends will drive up in GT3s, and so the whole idea is, could I have an old car with the capabilities of a GT3, and can you build it sort of elegantly in terms of that it can run all day and not break, which old cars always do, and can you sit inside it and not feel like you're in a rattle can?
Amazing. I cannot believe how flush it sits. It sits so good. I mean, the fitment is perfect because, as you said, you build it around this.
It's almost perfect. Bothers me, man. I'm gonna fix that. That takes time. I mean, if you look at the wheel wells,
you've already built something so incredible, and this is so inspiring to see. You know, I hope
appreciate that.
The people who watch this, I hope they get inspired to build something. It doesn't need to be a Z. You know, it could be anything, but of this caliber.
It's yeah. I don't know what I'll say. You take 12 years, it ought to be good.
It ought to be good. That's a good way to put it. I love that you continue this body line.
Yeah, I had to pick a spot to cut, and
Yeah.
I noticed some guy in the 1970s made one of these, which was the picture that caused me to think, ooh, that's a good idea. He had done it, and the unibody was under it, and it kind of looks janky once you opened it. So I thought, okay, we can do better than that. But he cut it like way down here. It's like, why the fuck did you do that when the line tells you what to do?
Yeah, it's natural. Huh.
There were ideas to take the whole thing open, but the geometry of doing that with the arms was just really exotic, and I didn't have time for trying to figure that out.
Yeah, this is already insane to me. So do you drive this on the street still?
It is legal. It is got a sticker. It's a pre-76, meaning the horn works and the lights turn on, and if you can do the turn blinkers, then you can drive it. Actually, you don't even need turn blinkers. So yeah, in Texas, it's legal as hell.
So you're from Texas?
I live in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Have you taken this on Coda?
Yes, once, and I melted the back end, and that's why we pulled the mufflers. So I'm gonna run Coda probably in October with it. So
what do you think it'll run, like your best time?
Well, in the other Z, I ran 228. Yeah.
What a great build! What a beautiful build! I'm just so blown away from the gauges. Jeez.
You wanna go for a ride?
Sure.
Drive it?
Sure.
It's easy to drive.
I'll drive it. You don't have to ask me twice. I'll drive it.
It's easy to drive.
This thing is awesome. All right.
If you know how to drive a sequential, you have to start off in first gear, using the clutch. Second gear, you should use the clutch unless you're just flooring it, and then every other gear you can basically pop it unless you're really low in RPMs, and then the clutch kind of helps soften that.
All right. So what do we do?
Okay. So you're good, clutch in.
Yeah.
Right.
Clutch in.
Okay. So you're in neutral. It says
neutral.
We can turn on ignition, and
then you just hold
start, and it'll just start up.
Wow.
That's it. So paddle. That's gear up, gear down.
It. Whoa.
Yeah.
And still no power steering, which is perfect.
Right.
I like that better. You can
right?
feel it better? No way. Okay, so you pull this back.
Now you're in first.
No way. How heavy is the clutch? Or how bitey is it? Oh, it's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's torched from a day of racing,
Right.
so
Wow. She's angry.
yeah.
Whoa, that is a serious sound. So third.
Yeah, get some speed and then pop into third. Wait till you're up in the RPMs.
Got it. Got it.
Not down low.
Okay.
Yeah, give it some gas. You got plenty of road.
All right. No way! This is unreal.
Make it through.
This is unreal, sir. What the heck? I've never driven anything like this.
Yeah,
This is crazy.
it's fun.
I can't believe how much traction it has.
It's I set the traction control to moderate,
Right.
so you can turn it up and down.
So when you're like this, you have to clutch in to downshift.
Yes.
Got it. I am so blown away right now.
You're on the low turbos. You're on the low boost setting right now.
You created a monster. Like this is a full-on race car for the street.
Yeah.
My goodness. This is so good.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
And then if you drive it slow, it's pretty mild-mannered, right?
Except for the clanking.
Right.
The transmission clanking.
I like it though. It reminds you that you're driving something serious.
Yeah. Yeah. It tracks pretty straight, which is comfortable.
Jeez. Can I try it from first? Do you think it'll hook up?
It'll hook up. The traction control might take over. Give it a try. See what happens.
I'll try it. That's unreal. It's so good. It's so good.
It's quick.
It's funny, the tires are so wide that I like half avoid a pothole, and if half the tire's on it, it's like you didn't even run over the pothole at all.
Yeah.
What a incredible machine.
Yeah. One of the things I need to fix is it takes too many turns to go from lock to lock.
Got it.
So you know, I bought a steering rack from a company that makes hot rod parts, and it was it's like hot rod steering ratio, and it's just wrong.
So this is more for like drag racing.
Yeah, and so I just need a shorter ratio.
This is so satisfying.
It's 6 speeds.
This is so satisfying.
Yeah. I made these little guys. They're just basically glued to the metal.
Right. It just extends it a little bit, huh? So then, because with that said, when you're on the track right now, on the tighter corners, you have to like pass over.
Yeah. So that's why I want to change it to basically 90 till 90 full lock. It's all right, but on a hairpin, it's a bit of a, you shouldn't be doing that.
Got it. Yeah, I can't believe how tight the steering feels. It does feel good though, but I can see what you mean.
Yeah. That's what I mean by it tracks well. Some cars the way it's set up is, camber's set up nicely.
So blown away. What an incredible car. It's not horrible to drive slow either.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah. It's so good. What are you looking at, Tim?
Oh no, it's just looking at it from this angle. I've never.
Yeah, you've never seen it from this
No,
side.
exactly. One of the things is
Brightness?
I made it adjustable, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to see like how bright it feels on that side.
When it's full bright, it's perfect
It's-
for full daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at night, it was like insanely bright.
Yeah.
And it was super reflective, and the carbon around it, and so it just.
What do you think about the new car?
It's okay. It's got some timid lines. It's better than the old one. So, and great motor.
Yeah.
I like the motor setup.
This has got to be just such a blast on track.
Oh man,
when you're rolling through the gears.
on the back straight of the high plains was so much fun.
Really?
I could just.
What did you get up to?
160. And basically,
No way.
It's fun. I mean, look, I wasn't running track times that were anything to write home about, but I was walking people in the back straight.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got
Neutral.
Yeah,
And
great.
then
And then just flip power off. It's a pulling out. Yeah.
wow. And then do I put it in
No,
first?
that's
or
it. It's just
It won't roll.
no. It's the big tires.
Wow. You're right. I'm scared. Mark, thank you so much for showing us your car.
No, thank you. It's fun.
I
It's fun to
I can't wait to see what else
see
you're
it through someone else's eyes.
What else are you gonna build? Are you planning on building that car?
I've got some work to finish on the older Z. It's the other 71 with the RB in it,
Uh-huh.
and get it put back together for October, and then drive this for a little bit.
Yeah.
you know?
Enjoy this.
This is
I-
this is the first public event of this car. It's the
Really?
first time I've taken it out in public when it was running. I've taken a roller where we pushed it onto the show, so I'm just gonna enjoy it for a little
This
bit.
is so incredible. I mean, like, even on the steering wheel, it's turned a little bit right now, but there's a boost dial, very F1, right? Or very sports car like. You have the traction control dial.
yeah, yeah.
This is
And then you've got
so cool.
two unused ones, which I'll eventually find something to do with.
But like the horn buttons here.
Yeah, that's to pass inspection, and then a page button changes the page in the graphics. So if you look at the programming there, I can switch to a race page, and based on GPS, it'll just give me a lap time.
Wow.
And numeric versions, which I find harder to read. Like, you know, it's nice to see like, oh, the water should be at the top,
yeah, yeah.
but it is still useful.
Jeez.
And then I'm planning on doing a third one. I just don't have time to finish it. That looks like a stock,
Yeah.
right? I want
Just-
it to
just-
look
just-
like, you know, the old black factories. They've got like every number represented in a tiny little
Right.
narrow case font. I want to basically build something that looks like that. So
I can't
daily
wait.
drive, it'll look.
I cannot wait for this to continue its evolution. I'm so glad I was able to drive it, experience it, and just shift through the gears. Just 1 through 4, I was already just
Yeah.
so blown away.
5 and 6 are 120 and
Yeah, it
150.
moves so fast. It's so good. Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's a wrap for this one, but we're gonna continue shooting here at ZCon.